everyone who came and who comes out and who continues to show up for Palestine and who continues to show up for all oppressed peoples and all oppressed groups. I really am so happy to see everybody here, to see all the beautiful art that people took the time to make, all the beautiful music that people are taking the time to play, all the beautiful words that people have written to explain the monstrosity of chaos that is happening around the world, not just in Palestine, but in Haiti, in the Congo, across the globe. I'm really, it warms my heart to see people show up for other people. It really does. I just want to take the time to talk to folks here, to talk to the folks walking by about what's happening. Right now in Palestine, the United States is selling arms to a state that is committing a genocide, that is openly trying to erase a people, a culture, and a community, worlds not even that far away from us. That's in Palestine, that's right here on our streets as well. Every attempt to silence us is an attempt to silence Palestinians, which is why we keep showing up. And there are struggles that exist in this city that have everything to do with Palestine. When people take the streets to say stop overfighting the police, people say the NYPD is killing people on the train for $2.90. That is the same institution that is continuing to sell arms to Israel. So when we take the streets to protect our rights here, we are doing so in the same struggle as our Palestinian siblings. So I really want to emphasize that, because in these past 2 weeks, we've seen a clear example of how the state, how the police, how the military is used to continue our oppression. There they go, right there. How you doing? But it is the same institutions. What we saw last week in this city, what people are in the streets upset about, that they are continuously choosing profit over the lives of people. Profits, and that profit could be millions of dollars, and that profit can be $2.90. The state has shown that they will at any opportunity choose those $2 over a life. And that goes the exact same for Palestinians. It is the same institution. The NYPD, who shot 4 people on a platform last week, is the same NYPD that has an office in Israel. Is the same institutions. It is the same practices. When you see the SRG working these pro-Palestine protests, when you see the SRG working these anti-police protests, it is the same SRG, Strategic Response Group, that are working these anti-terrorist protests. It is the same policy, the same strategy, and most importantly, the same people. Eric Adams, Joe Biden, Kamala all represent the protection of the same institution. The NYPD and the US military are not far apart at all. And we are seeing this. We're seeing this in Palestine, we're seeing this in New York, and we're seeing this in Haiti. How the United States takes these police departments, takes these armed groups, and uses them and exports these ideas to oppress people. Right now we're seeing in Haiti how the US has spent $300 million in Haiti. And I want to keep saying that, Haiti, Haiti, Haiti. I want you to keep hearing the word Haiti. Because the US spent $300 million and continues to spend $200,000 every 6 months to make sure that the Kenyan domestic police force, not the Kenyan military, but the Kenyan domestic police force can invade Haiti. The US is paying for that. They're outsourcing the police, and they're outsourcing militaries to invade other places that they have no business being in. And they're doing the same exact thing with Palestine. They're gonna outsource their military weapons to Israel, the same way they're gonna outsource their $300 million to Kenya to invade Haiti. It's the same people, it's the same policy that is allowing this lawlessness, this lawless actions of military and police to oppress and maintain an agenda that nobody but the US elite wants. So I really wanna make that connection clear between who is paying for these institutions, who is paying for these armed groups to enter into countries that they do not belong in. The IOF does not belong in Palestine. The Kenyan police force doesn't belong in Haiti. And the NYPD guns don't belong in the train stations. None of these things belong where they're at. And I want to really make this connection clear because they're using the same tax dollars. All of these things are coming from the same tax dollars. I want to make that clear. The weapons that we are sending, the weapons that the United States, not we, because it's not me, the taxes and the money that the United States is sending to Israel comes from the same pool of taxes that the U.S. is sending to Kenya, coming from the same pool of taxes that they're using to pay the NYPD. And when we're saying fund school, not bombs, and we say fund healthcare, not war, they like to complicate it. They like to make it seem like that isn't possible. That ask is not nuanced, that ask lacks critical thinking, and that's just not true. That is not true. When you fund guns, and when you fund invasion, and when you fund bombs, and when you fund police, that is what you are choosing to invest in. Those are the values that you are choosing to invest in. It is actually that simple to stop funding the military. It is actually that simple. Whenever you hear that there's no money for housing, whenever you hear that there is no money for housing, I want you to look around and see how many empty apartments in this city that you see. How many empty apartments that people cannot live in because we are choosing, it is a choice. Every policy is a choice. We are choosing not to fund that. It's not that there is no money, because there is. Eric Adams is putting these NYPD in the train stations. Nobody is asking for that. I don't know who this man is surrounding himself with, but nobody is asking for that. What we are asking for is housing. What we are asking for is to keep the libraries open. What we are asking for is actual funded education. And what we're getting is NYPD. What we're getting is infrastructure meant to support and heighten and protect the police. Nobody is asking for that. And it is actually that simple. We would rather pay for the repercussions and the results of causing a migrant crisis instead of investing in preventing that migrant crisis to begin with in the first place. We don't belong in these places. We're seeing waves of Haitians come into the city with zero infrastructure meant to help them while funding their invasion. We can't keep pushing people out of their homes and then getting mad when they come here. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep doing that. We either have to invest in people, let people govern themselves, let people organize themselves, let people protect themselves, but we can't fund guns. We can't invest. We can't keep putting our money. We can't keep letting this happen. We can't keep getting mad that refugees are at our borders in our cities when this country is the one invading them. We cannot keep doing that. People have nowhere else to go. This city is full of people from every single background you could ever imagine. And it's a beautiful city, and I love that about this city. But if you ask people, why did your family come here? What were they running away from? What was happening in your city, in your country, that your family had to come here? It's invasion. My family came here from Haiti after a US-funded invasion, after the United States had to overthrow a government that they put in power. We didn't ask for a dictator. The United States pushed that dictator in his position, and then they had to initiate a coup to overthrow, let me make this clear, to overthrow a government they put in power. And this Haiti is not the only, it's not the first, and it's not the last that has happened. And so I really encourage folks, when they hear the word migrant crisis, when they hear the word asylum seeker, ask people why they come here. Ask them. Ask people why their parents are here. Ask people why their grandmother was here. Ask people why their dad came. I promise you, my story, the Haitian story, is not the only story. It is not unique. It is not singular. We come from a pattern of global imperialism initiated by the United States. We don't pop up. We don't come here because we hate where we're from. We don't come here because we want to take and do all these crazy things. We come because we have to. Nobody leaves their home. Nobody leaves their land. Nobody leaves their family if they don't have to. And once that is clear, everything else starts to make sense. Haitians aren't here because we just think this place is better. Palestinians aren't here because they just think this place is better. Panamanians aren't here because they think this place is better. Congolese people aren't here because they think this place is better. That's never the case. I love my island. And if you ask any other Haitian, they will tell you the same thing. I love my island, we love our island. We love the coconuts, we love the palm trees, we love the water. And I wouldn't leave if you had to drag me out of my home with your two bare hands. But we are here because powers greater than us, powers with a lot more money, powers with a lot more arms, refuse to let us govern ourselves. And that is why we are here, is because the US refuses to let Palestinians organize and govern themselves. The United States refuses to let Haitians govern ourselves. And that is why we are here. That is the true purpose as to why we are in this city. And I love this city. I think it's a beautiful city. But we didn't come here by choice, we came here by force. And many asylums, many refugees come here because they have to. If you look at the Venezuelans in the street, that is a result of an embargo that this country knew would cause a migration crisis. Trump knew sanctions against Venezuela would cause a migration crisis and did it anyway. Because it is, for them, the priority is control. They refuse to let us govern ourselves. They refuse to let the Venezuelan people govern themselves. They refuse to let Colombians govern themselves. They refuse to let Haitians govern themselves, and that is why we are here. We are not ungovernable people. We are not ungovernable people. We refuse to be governed by people that aren't us. And for that, we will continue to be ungovernable. If you want to govern me, I will continue to be ungovernable because you have no authority to do that. And that's where our struggles align. Is Palestinians have a right to govern themselves. Haitians have a right to govern ourselves. Venezuelans have a right to govern themselves. This country has no business sending arms to people who they hand select that align with them. That isn't us. That is the United States agenda. And the NYPD, right here in this very city, is an exact example of that. We refuse to let our only access to resource and protection be the NYPD, because we understand that if given a choice between our safety and $2.90, the NYPD will continue to choose the $2.90. If they have a choice between letting Haitians govern ourselves and causing a nationwide migration crisis, they will choose the nationwide migration crisis. This is an issue of liberation. This continues to be an issue of freedom. This continues to be an issue of self-determination that the United States only grants to itself. No one else is allowed to have that. And that's what this struggle is. That's what the Haitian struggle is. That's what the Palestinian struggle is. That's what the Venezuelan struggle is. That's what the Congolese struggle is. It's a struggle for self-determination. It's a struggle for liberation. And we see the impact of this massive inequality every day on these streets. Look who delivers your food. Look who watches your kids. It's black and brown people. And that isn't an accident, that is policy. That isn't a coincidence, that is on purpose. That isn't the way things are, it is a choice that people in power make to give self-determination and economic mobility to one group at the expense of another group. That is what this struggle is. If you go to Palestine, if you go to occupied Palestine, look who owns the businesses and look who works for those businesses. It's a class difference. It is a class difference that is based in racism. Just like as we see here, it isn't an accident. This is very much on purpose. And when you take that away, when you take away the reason we see this inequality, then you give it to racism. People, this difference is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that everybody who delivers your food is a recent migrant. That is not a coincidence. That is a choice. That is a policy choice. The mayor of this city, whose 60% of his administration is currently under FBI investigation. The police commissioner is under FBI investigation. The interim police commissioner is under investigation. The entire entire upper administration of the NYPD is currently being investigated by the FBI. The education commissioner also being raided by the FBI. And that is not a coincidence. It is no coincidence that as we see record NYPD on the street, record NYPD funding in this year's New York budget, that we are also seeing just how corrupt this administration is. At the height of the migration crisis, and I really want to make this clear, as Trump initiated sanctions against Venezuela, sanctions he knew would cause a migration crisis. He knew it would cause a migration crisis because the state told him it would. He did it anyway, and as we saw the influx of migrants into the city, we saw Eric Adams take away right to shelter. He took away a right that New Yorkers fought for 40 years ago, and he took it away because he knew that if he had to give right to shelter to one of us, he would have to give right to shelter to all of us. And so this mayor took away a right that New Yorkers have had for the past 40 years. He took away our right to shelter, a very basic human right. He took away our right to shelter and replaced it with the NYPD on our trains. And we wonder, why do we see so much homelessness? Because you literally took away their right to have a home. That is why. For no other reason. You don't see homelessness on the street because people are just like this. And when you look at the people who are homeless on the street, when you look at people who are sleeping on the trains, when you look at people who are on Delancey and Essex, when you look at people who are on 125th in Harlem, those are black people. Those are black people. And it's crazy that as we are not a majority in this city, we are not a majority in this country, but we are a majority in prisons, and we are a majority in homeless shelters. That's where our majority is represented. The black majority is represented in prisons, and the black majority is represented in homeless shelters. The black majority is represented in street homelessness. And that is not a coincidence. That is not an accident. Nor is it the racist belief that we are just like this. That is a policy choice. It is a policy choice that you take away right to shelter and replace it with a multi-billion-dollar NYPD budget. That is a choice. Every day, that is a choice. And for months, and it costs something. That multi-billion-dollar NYPD budget, that $11.5 billion NYPD budget, comes at the expense. Eric Adams, you saw him cutting a ribbon at the library like he didn't close it. He's at the front page taking pictures, reopening the libraries, as if he isn't the one who closed the libraries. And it takes closing libraries to fund the NYPD. It takes cutting housing vouchers to fund the NYPD. It takes cutting teachers' salary. It takes cutting the amount of social workers. It takes that to fund the NYPD. This is a choice. This is a choice. But it's people who fought to reopen the libraries. It is people who made Eric Adams. It is people who made Eric Adams open the library. I want to make it clear. He didn't choose to do this out of the kindness of his heart. It is organizers, activists every day who show up and let him know that we are not okay with this choice. And that is why showing up for Palestine is just as important, because they have to know that we do not want this. They have to know that we are not asking for this. They have to know that their continued choice to send arms to Israel is not our choice. Richie Torres in the Bronx, one of the most over-policed neighborhoods in the city. The Bronx, the poorest district in the United States for a long time. The Bronx was the poorest district in the United States. And Richie Torres, our representatives, is advocating to send arms to a state we do not support, whose choices and policies do not reflect the people who he represents, does not represent his constituency. And right now, Code Pink visits Congress, the halls of Congress, every single day. Code Pink is at the halls of Congress every single day, holding these elected officials accountable. And when I was in the halls of Congress, and I was talking to an elected official from Missouri or Ohio, and I asked, why are you voting? I asked him, why are you voting to send arms to Israel? And he asked me in response, I asked his representative, why are you sending arms to Israel? He responded to me with, are you a part of my constituency? You're sending $300 million to Haiti. Have you been to Haiti? You're telling me I'm not a part of your constituency? You're knee deep in my country and you're asking me if I'm your constituency. You blindly spend $300 million to invade a country you are not a part of, that has been victim for years of your imperialist agenda, and you're asking me if I'm your constituency. And that is the mentality that a lot of these representatives have. So I want to make it clear that although Haiti and Palestine are far apart, our struggles are the exact same.
Great strategic clapping.